And I think this is a do or die moment for Kelechi Nwakali. His mates, the people that he started with, the people that he blew up with, they are hitting the peaks of their careers. Whereas he is still trying to find his feet and have a stable career. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching or listening to us from. This is the Niger FC Podcast. As always, I'm your host, IoT, and I have with me my reliable co host.
Smith Layi.
Yes, thank you very much, guys, for tuning in wherever you're watching or listening to us. This is another fantastic episode of Nigerian FC Podcast where we bring you unfiltered opinions with regards to everything Nigerian football. For today, we want to review Nigerian footballers that were in action over the past week, the past weekend, and then of course we'll end with a discussion about some standout players and one topic in particular, which some of you may have already heard about. So I'll start by saying at Eagles Tracker over the past weekend, we followed over 214 different matches this past weekend from about 80 different leagues around the world. These are just matches that had the chance of featuring a Nigerian footballer. And of course, as always, there's a few players to highlight, players that performed well. I'll start with goalkeepers. We had Daniel Akpeyi, made 4 saves, kept a clean sheet for Morocco Swallows. Good performance over there in South Africa. We had Chiamaka Anadozie, made 7 saves for Paris FC in their game against PSG. That one was a very tough match. Unfortunately, her team lost on penalties, but she ended up being the player of the match. It was a top performance. And then we also had Maduka Okoye keeping a clean sheet with Udinese in their 2-0 victory over Lecce. People that might be wondering, Umar Bali also played. His performance just has nothing for us to really report on. But Umar Bali was also in action this past weekend. And then unfortunately, Adebayo Adeleye is no longer the number one goalkeeper at his club, so he hasn't been playing for the past weeks, and then yeah, that's pretty much it with our Nigerian goalkeepers abroad. In defense, there were a few defenders that performed really well for their clubs this past weekend. We have Godfrey Stephen, 5 tackles, 6 goals, one fantastic performance for Diosgori VTK in Hungary. So check him out if you are not familiar. Olajuwon was also impressive for Nottingham Forest in their defeat against Chelsea. Entertaining match, 4 tackles, one chance created, 7 goals, one energetic performance. Long lost Super Eagles defender Kevin Akpoguma also in action for Hoffenheim. Kept a clean sheet. He made 2 tackles, 7 goals, one good game for Hoffenheim. We also had Izuchuku Anthony, 7 clearances, one block, 3 goals, one, playing for Nantong Siyun in China. Olisanda, another long lost Super Eagles defender, was in action for Orlando Pirates. 5 goals, one chance created, a couple tackles. And then Chidozie Awaziem was in action and impressed for Boavista with 3 tackles, 5 clearances, 5 goals, one, and an all-round good performance. Unfortunately, they lost that game against FC Porto. In midfield, we had Bolu Akinyode, 8 tackles, 15 goals, one, 3 dribbles, playing for El Paso Locomotive. That is in the second division over there in the USA. We also had Obina Nwobodo, 5 goals, one, 3 dribbles for FC Cincinnati in the MLS and USA. Fisayo Dele Bashiru, 5 goals, one, 2 dribbles. Good performance for Hatayspor in Turkey. We had Joe Aribo with 4 goals, one, and 3 chances created in Southampton's goalless championship playoff semi-final against West Brom. Ifeanyi Matthew also was good for FC Zurich, 3 tackles, 6 goals. Samson Tijani was good, scored his first goal of the season, his first goal for Wolfsberger in the Austrian Bundesliga. And then just to wrap up with the forwards, lots of forwards were in action. Lots of forwards had good performances. I'll highlight Filippo Tele scored a bicycle kick for CFR Cluj. I think he now has about 16, 17 goals this season, so he's doing pretty well. He's a player that has been linked with the likes of Brighton and other clubs around Europe, so he's one to watch for this summer. Ibrahim Aliyu scored his fourth goal of the season for Houston Dynamo in the MLS. It was a well taken finish on his right foot. Wale Musa Ali scored one goal, created four chances for Dynamo Cheske in the Czech league. Wale Ali is one of those young players who is on the come up, and I've been following him for a couple years now. He's doing quite well in Czech Republic. I believe that in another year or two, if everything goes well for him, he should be able to get a move into a better league. But one to watch. We had Rasheedat Ajibade, one goal, one assist, MVP of the match performance for Atletico in their Madrid derby victory over Real Madrid. That was an entertaining game. Salim Fago, who people might recognize from the Under 20 World Cup, scored a goal for NK Istra. Teller won a penalty that was converted by Victor Boniface in Bayer Leverkusen's 5-0 victory, where they made it 50 matches unbeaten this season. That team, the way they are going is amazing. Peter Olayinka, two assists for Red Star Belgrade. Matthias Oyewusi, one goal for Valenciennes in League Two in France. We had Odion Igalo with two goals for Al Weda in Saudi. And then, of course, we had Big Paul Onwachu, with two goals for Trabzonspor in the Turkish Super League. So yes, that's pretty much it. A few people that we should just talk about quickly before we move on. I think I want to highlight Paul Onwachu. Onwachu, after he scored these two goals, we posted about it. I saw a lot of comments from different people on social media asking, why is it that this guy plays so well for his club, but just has not been able to translate it for the Super Eagles of Nigeria? And of course, he created a lot of discourse around that topic. But Smith, like, on what you this season, 19 matches in the Turkish Super League, 13 goals, a fantastic return. This is after he had a bad spell at Southampton. What do you have to say about Onwachu? And do you have the answer to that question of why is it that Onwachu does so well for club but has not been able to translate it for country?
So for me, thanks for actually what having once more. I just think that the case of Porto, I think it's just unlucky that different managers did not actually play to his strengths, and it's also unlucky because it is certain Victor Sime and Tawa Wone actually what ahead of him in the national team. So, for example, now if Polono actually is from Cameroon, even if he's not playing well, they will still rely on him. They can build a team around him because he's their main man. I don't see any national team, maybe apart from like five national teams, that Polo Noashu will not get in Africa. So because he's a Nigerian, and if he flop, he goes on the bench straight away because we have Victor Osimhen, we have Taiwo Awoni, we have Teddy Murphy that can actually what come. Even the Siri that can actually what come and perform well. So I just think that he did not have enough time to in the national team for him to say that he can take his claim. But he's someone that you need to play to his strength for him to flourish. Like he was doing well for Gent. He did well for Midland. But when he came to Southampton, he did do well because they did not play to his strength. Now they are playing to his strength. They are playing to his strength in Trabzonspor in Turkey. He's doing well, and also other Pasero too. They brought him in to come and do a job. So the type of job they brought him to come and do is not a job that can make him the number one. Just come and finish the job. They don't bring him in when they're looking for goals. They bring him to when they want to defend. So he will defend from the front. So that is one thing. I just think that he's unlucky with national team. I don't think he's a bad player. I don't think he's a bad player. I don't think he's a club player. I just think that with the nature of our national team, he's just slightly unlucky.
And I will say there's definitely a large part of being unlucky there. I think, like you said, with the kind of player that he is, you kind of need to play to his strength for him to flourish. He's a
Mm-hmm.
6'7" striker. It's like having Peter Crouch on your team and not crossing ball and wondering why Peter Crouch is not scoring you a bunch of goals. That's kind of been the problem with Onwachu in the Super Eagles. But at the end of the day, he's someone that they always call up as a third option because he's a different kind of player. And I always say, like, thank God fans are not the ones that determine people's careers, because he's one of those players that if it was simply down to Nigerian fans, he'll probably not even be playing football again today. So I'm happy
Mm-hmm.
to see him scoring these goals in Trabzonspor. Went out for some time with injury, came back, continued banging in the goals like he had been doing before. And it just shows that Onuachu is a good player. For a lot of people that doubt him, for a lot of people that think that he's just some lucky guy to be getting Super Eagles call ups, or he doesn't deserve whenever he's called up. I think they need to look at his body of work at club level and they'll realize that yeah, this guy has it in his locker. And he's not the worst with his feet as well. It's not like he's a terrible player of the ball, but obviously he's 6'7", so his major strength lies in the air. And I'm very impressed with how he's doing for Trabzonspor. Again, in 19 games to score 13 goals in the league is definitely something to be happy about. Okay. Another one that I want us to talk about quickly is, and I know we speak about her almost every week, but Chiamaka Nnadozie, 7 saves, fantastic display. I went back and I watched all her moments from that game. And, PSG, they are a tough team to play against, so they were peppering that goal. But Chiamaka was up to the task with nearly everything that came her way. What more can we say about her? She already won the goalkeeper of the season award in the French league this year. What do you think is the next step for Chamaka? Like at this point, we know that she's a quality goalkeeper. So what's the next thing that you think she needs to do for her to take that next step in her career?
For me, I think we one thing in life you cannot deny is talent. The talent is there. I saw her play for the national under 17 team, the Flamingos, and right from that time, from my time in Flamingo, I knew that she's going to be a very top goalkeeper, and that was evident when she went to the 2019 World Cup in was it in France, and she just came from the under 20, and she became like first choice in that tournament, and she kept a clean sheet.
Yeah.
So, it's one thing you can see her progression. She's been growing very well. When was the last time we had a goalkeeper that was playing Champions League, before in Nigeria, even men football, it's hard for us to actually have a goalkeeper playing Champions League football. So I think the next step for her is to move, and I believe that she's one of the best goalkeeper in the world. I think that based on her performance, some clubs might be looking, to actually sign her. I think that it's now that she needs to make the big move, and I think that the big move will come, very very soon. And also, I also want her to perform well at the Olympics because that one will also help boost her profile, in women's football. She's a top goalkeeper. So I think the next point in her career is to move to one of the to one of the big teams in Europe.
Hmm. And a lot of people have been talking about how they would like her to move. I guess it just begs the question of if she were to move, where exactly would she move to? She
Mm-hmm.
plays in France for already the third best team in France. The
Mm-hmm.
only two teams that she can move to in France that would be a step up for her would be to join PSG or to join Lyon.
Mm-hmm.
Those two teams, how likely is it that they are going to come in for a new
For her.
goalkeeper? Is
Yeah.
unlikely. PSG, they have three goalkeepers that are under 25 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So they would probably look at it and think that they have it figured out in that department.
Mm-hmm.
For Lyon, I think they have two old goalkeepers. So one is 32, one is 31. And then they
Mm-hmm.
have two young goalkeepers. One is 19 and one is 17. So
Yes.
potentially, if the Lyon first choice goalkeeper, who is 32 years old, if maybe she's on the way out, then that could be a way for Chiamaka to get into a Leon team, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's going to be interesting. If she wants to move abroad, she probably has to be going to a team like Barcelona in
Mm-hmm.
Spain,
In
or maybe
Spain.
if she wants to move to England, she has to go to maybe Chelsea or Arsenal or Man City, one of the
Mm-hmm.
top teams in England. Of course,
Yes.
Chelsea have Hannah Hampton, they have Musovic, the young, I forget what country Musovic is from as well. She was also at the World Cup and did well.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Sweden. You know,
Yeah.
so it's difficult. You know, the women's market is not like the men's market where they're
Yes.
just splashing millions every summer
Mm-hmm.
on different players. But hopefully she's able to find the right place for herself. Paris
Mm-hmm.
FC, they keep improving, so she's also an influence as to why they are doing as good as they are.
Yeah.
I think they qualified for the Champions League again next season for the Champions League qualification round.
Yeah.
So hopefully they can get into the tournament proper,
Pepper.
and she can kick on from there. But I've been saying this thing since even before the last World Cup that Chiamaka is one of the best goalkeepers in the world, and the rest of the world just needs to catch up and
Mm-hmm.
see what we have already been seeing for a long time now. Okay. Um, I think there's two more players that I wanted to talk about. Um, to keep it on the female players before we round off. So Rasheedat Ajibade, Rasheedat, another goal, another assist, another MVP of the match award for Rasheedat in Atletico de Madrid's hard fought derby victory over Real Madrid. She has won Atletico Madrid's player of the month for the last 3 months in a row, February,
Mm-hmm.
March, and April. She has started May with another goal and another assist. She was their top goal scorer last season. Currently, she's their second highest goal scorer, but she has had the most goal contributions. So by the time you add the goals and the assists together,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, she's already getting a lot of, I would say, praise within Africa. People see the talents that she is. But similar question to what I just asked about Chiamaka. What do you think is the next thing that has to happen in her progression? Does staying in Atletico Madrid favor her? Should she consider a move? What do you think about that?
I think it's if you look at her career too, you don't forget that she was a captain of Chiamaka Nnadozie when they were playing under 20. So if you look at the trajectory of her career too, similar to Chiamaka Nnadozie, you can see that they have been moving forward, moving forward. So in my opinion, I think a move should what happen now, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, she's like in a peak of her career now. Peak, like she's just in the peak now. So
I
because
wouldn't say she's at her peak, but good.
yeah, I just think that she's really hit the peak up, because looking at the way she has performed for the past 3 months, how she led Nigeria to Olympic qualification. She's now the main man, the main person, the main lady in the national team. So I think that she's like in the best form of her life now. You can't fault that. So I just think that our own case is easier, because you have 10 players, but you only have one goalkeeper. So if they're going to replace one goalkeeper, that's going to be Chama, and you have two. Is that one is slightly difficult, but for her, a coach can beat for her. She can play forward, right, left wing, anyhow they want her. She was use her. She can play. So I think it's going to be easier for her to move. Another thing is that she's the captain of the team now, Super Falcons. A strong Olympic performance might take her to the Premier League, the
Mm.
Women's Super
You
League.
know,
Yeah.
so I'll start by where I disagreed with you. I don't think she's at her peak yet. She's
Mm-hmm.
definitely playing the best football she has ever played. I will say
Mm-hmm.
that. But I think she still has another level to go up a notch.
Mm-hmm.
She has another level that she can get to. When I watch her game, as good as she is, I still think she can score more goals than she does. I
Mm-hmm.
still think she can get more assists. She's good at beating her player. She's good at running. Sometimes her shooting is not always the best, so she
Mm-hmm.
can still tweak and adjust that. But I definitely think that the future is very bright for her. I'm a bit on the fence as to whether or not she should move now. I would have liked for her to maybe move last season, but this year, Atletico Madrid are currently on track to qualify for the Champions League qualifiers.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, only the winner in Spain get an automatic slot, so they will
Mm-hmm.
have to play qualifiers. If she can qualify for the Champions League, you know, play against some of the top teams there, get some additional exposure, as a football player. Like you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, the Olympics is also a big one for her as the captain of the team going to Paris. If all that can go well for her, then maybe a summer transfer can come after the Olympics. But if that summer transfer doesn't come, I think that whatever she's able to do with Atletico Madrid in the Champions League next season, if she can even have a better year than she's having now, then potentially something big can come in the future. Unfortunately, playing in that Spain, Barcelona, they mostly always just sign the young Spanish talents. If not,
Mm-hmm.
then for don't look aside. Um, but yeah, she's definitely one that we have to pay attention to. And
Yeah.
to kind of wrap up on the female players, so we have Chama Canados here, who we spoke about, doing very well with Paris FC. We have Rashidat doing very well with Atletico de Madrid. And the
Yeah.
third person I'll bring into the equation, we have Christy Uchebe. She's won two trophies with Benfica already this season. They have one more final, so they are going for a domestic treble. They have one more final to play. Amongst these three players now, how, and we've never even looked at other countries in Africa, but among these three players, how do we decide who the African player of the year is? What do you think?
You know, all these past now, all these individual awards does not really favor a player that does not score goals
Mm,
because they look at stats, they look at assists and everything. If you look at this current season, for me, I think Christy Shebe, she's having like one of her best season ever because once she was in the she was in the quarterfinals or what of the Champions League, she was there. She won two trophies already. She's going for a treble. She did well for Nigeria at the World Cup. Things are like falling in place for her. So, but the issue is that she does not play high up the pitch. So that is one thing. And clearly, you will not say that, there are some people in that team too that are the main person, going forward in that team.
mm,
So that one we can't against that, but you cannot downplay what she's doing for that team.
mm,
For example, in Atletico Madrid, the Madrid Firmino, Rashidat is the best, is the person that we would look at if they want to pick someone there, most likely. So, but in the case of Christy, she might not be the one for them to look because she's doing well, very well, exceptionally well, but she's not playing up front, scoring the goals.
mm,
So, just like for example, now for Chama Kanadoze now, because in our department it's only 1-1 per club. So that one she can win the best goalkeeper. But it's go very. Another thing is that her winning the best goalkeeper doesn't mean that her defense is poor, no, but she's getting a lot of shots from that defense. So we have to look at it from that area too. So in my opinion, I think if you have to pick someone, it's very close between Chamaka and Rashida Ajibade.
mm. And
But
I would,
a strong performance for Nigeria may hopefully the WAFCON and the Olympics might tint it towards the girl with the blue hair.
mm. And I would agree with you. Chiama, rather, Christine Chebe, as good as she is, as well as she's performing, I agree with you. The fact that she plays as a midfielder, and this season she's been playing a lot as a center back, it
Mm-hmm.
just does not help because
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, for a lot of people that don't watch the games week in, week out, what they depend on statistics. They go
Mm-hmm.
online, they look for how many goals, how many assists. Even though you can find tackles, you can find interceptions, you can find all those things, those statistics are not glamorous. So a lot of people don't pay attention to them. And then they just assume that this person is probably not doing as well. So that's one of the things that unfortunately would play against Christy Uchebe. But for me, I think even if she's not a winner of that award, she definitely needs to be in the conversation. They need to consider her. She needs to potentially be nominated. I know they probably not would not want to nominate three Nigerians, so
Mm-hmm.
maybe she might miss out on the nomination. But when they do the larger nomination of the 10 players or however many they initially do, I think her name has to be included there. For me, I think it's will be between Chiamaka and Rashidat for this one. Chiamaka has had a fantastic season, for both club and country. Rashidat has had a fantastic time with country, having a very good season with the club as well. Um, I think it's just a toss of the coin, depending on who you ask. The reason why I think Chiamaka might win it over Rashidat is because one, the the award doesn't really go to goalkeepers, and two,
Mm-hmm.
when you look at Oshoala, who has been winning this award for a long time, she's been winning it after scoring 25 goals, 30
Yes.
goals, lots of goals. And while Rasheedat has been doing very well, she doesn't have the kind of goal tally that Oshoala used to have playing for
Yes.
Barcelona. So
Mm-hmm.
they might use that against her and say, well, is she really doing that great if she's not hitting the heights of the previous award winners?
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that could help Chiamaka's case. Another thing that I think could also maybe help Rashidat's case is that Chiamaka is probably going to win the goalkeeper of the year award.
Mm-hmm.
So they might not want to give the goalkeeper of the year the player of the year as well. It
Mm-hmm.
all depends on the CAF technical department. What I will say is that those guys, I don't really trust them to make the best decision because some of the times that they be doing team of the year or they be doing nominations, I usually don't think that they get it right. The
Mm-hmm.
other year when they nominated Katlana for the final three and they did not nominate Ajibade, I could not
Mm-hmm.
understand it because they were playing for the same club.
Yeah.
Ajibade was the star for the club. Katlana was on the bench. But somehow they said, "Oh, nah, the one with the bench, we do better than the one where they start, where they score the goals." So the way they do it sometimes can be tricky. Some of the other, the usual suspects from the foreign countries, you know, you look at a player like Barbara Banda, she's
Mm-hmm.
still trying to find her feet after she moved to
MLS.
what's it called, MLS.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then somebody that is probably the front runner for
Mm-hmm.
the award is Tabitha Chawinga,
Mm-hmm.
the Malawian striker who plays for
PSG.
PSG. She's been doing very well, 18 goals in the league this season. So when you look at her and you look at Rashidat, I think
Mm-hmm.
Rashidat has 9 goals and 7 or 8 assists, something
Uh-huh.
like that. But a lot of people will probably pick the person that has 18 goals over
Mm-hmm.
the person that has 9 and 7, even though
Mm-hmm.
the contribution is balanced, is almost the same. It'll be interesting to see, but I think it's exciting to see that we have many top Nigerian players playing at this level. Okay, so just to end the conversation about players, let us talk about a not so positive report that came out in the media about one Nigerian player who, whenever you ask people about this guy, he always divides opinions. There are those that, no matter what he does, they don't like him. They've given up on him. And there are those that always try to see the positive aspect of things, try to hope that things can get better. But when a person or a player keeps on having negative after negative after negative headline around them, I think that at some point there needs to be a little bit of introspection done. You need to look inwards and realize, okay, what am I not doing right? For anybody that hasn't caught on, I'm talking about Kelechi Nwakali. We saw the reports, we read the reports that his club, GD Chavez in the Portuguese Primeira Liga, have opened, and essentially a claim, an investigation, whatever against him. They want to take disciplinary action. After he was filmed, it's not even like, oh, somebody said it. He was filmed during the match. After getting subbed off while he was on the bench, Kelechi Nwakali was using his phone. So it is amazing for a few reasons. One, since I've been watching football, I don't think I've seen when camera turns to the bench and players are on the bench just texting or watching video using their phone.
Hmm.
The only time I remember players using their phone during a match was Bayer Leverkusen when they were about to win the title. All them Boniface, then they live when the match was still going on. From the bench, they were on Instagram live already. But that one, you understand. The club is about to win
Mm-hmm.
title. They probably gave the players permission because it was almost all of them on the bench had their phones, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a case of when the match ends, a lot of people will want to go live. If you now have to start entering locker room to go and look for phone, everything. So the club must have given all of them permission for that game.
Yeah.
But Umar Kali's own was the complete opposite. Not only was his club not about to win the league, in fact, his club was about to get relegated.
Mm-hmm.
They were literally fighting for their lives during that match. And then somebody is on the bench using his phone. Now, what was he doing on the phone? We don't know. He could have been playing game. He could have been looking at his stats.
Mm-hmm.
He could have been maybe watching his video from the game. Who knows? But what matters at the
Mm.
end of the day is that it is a bad look, especially when the game is still
Mm-hmm.
going on. Most especially when your team is fighting relegation, and in fact, when the team ended up getting relegated in that match, it is just a
Mm.
bad look. It reeks of indiscipline, and for a player who has had different issues, rightly or wrongly, that have queried and have raised questions about his discipline, I think it's just unfortunate. We spoke about him on Instagram Live a couple days, less than a week ago. And, this is one of the things that we spoke about, and I mentioned it there that he gives me vibes of a player that if he has a good game and his team loses, it's probably like, well, I did my own, no be me cause I'm, you know. And when your team is fighting relegation, the game is going on, you're on the bench, and you're using your phone. That is exactly the image it portrays. It
Mm.
it paints the image that you don't really care what's going on with the team. I'm no longer playing, so may the match just end. And again, I don't think any club is going to love a player like that. Some people say, "Oh, what does it matter?" People are overreacting. But for me, when I look at it, that when you're a player that already has these negative stereotypes and assumptions made about him, you need to be extra careful. And I think this was a situation whereby he wasn't extra careful. And one moment of action, you know, can be a reason for the club probably to want to let him go and for a lot of bad press that he's getting. He may not even have used the phone for more than 1 minute, but just that moment that he did, unfortunately, has attracted
Mm-hmm.
negative attention to him again. Has got a lot of people talking about how he has not fulfilled potential, things like that. Some people say, "Oh, Nain, they always do himself." And personally, I don't like to see things like that. But that doesn't mean that I would not be honest about the situation. I don't think he's helping himself with some of the things that he does. But yeah, I'll throw it to you, Smith. Like, what are your thoughts on this whole Nwakali phone on the bench situation?
Since when he played for, he narrowly missed the under 17 in 2013 before he captained the next generation. And those that watched him closely in his formative years thinks that is the next big thing in Nigerian football. But unfortunately, things did not really go his way. We're still trying to console ourselves with a player that we thought that we do well for Nigeria, not really fulfilling that potential. Then this thing happens again. Now, your club is going on a relegation. It's
Hmm.
about to be confirmed. You are on your phone. Normally, a club that is going on relegation is like they're in pain already. You too, even if you are not interested in the club anymore, you want to make a move. Suitors too will look at you. You are pressing your phone. Would that one make you professional enough? Would they want to sign you with that?
Hmm.
So we all know that has been jumping. For example, now I think he has been relegated twice now. No, I mean maybe three times safe now because it was from La Liga to La Liga 2, from La Liga 2 to La Liga 3, and now from Portuguese League to he has been relegated. Things have not been happening, going well for him. But for him to now descend so low to this type of situation is really really sad. And in my own opinion, is that what was he thinking at that moment in time? Was he trying to text somebody and that text cannot wait?
Hmm.
Was it what? Because it doesn't even look bothered at all, you know. And it's so sad because we don't like to break this news. We don't like to talk about it, but it's not good for the image of even the national team. I have to be honest with you. Even for example, now if a national team coach want to call him up now, it's gonna be hard. People will query that. That why is he being called up because of this type of attitude. So for me, I don't think he's really doing himself any favors. I think that he needs like to rally around and get this career back on track. I have to be honest
Yeah.
with you. It's a very very tough time for him, and it's not really good for Nigerian football.
No, yeah. Well said. I agree with you, and I think this is a do or die moment for Kelechi Nwakali. His mates, the people that he started with, the people that he blew up with, they are hitting the peaks of their careers, whereas he is still trying to find his feet and have a stable career. These kinds of things don't help, so he needs to be careful. I hope he sorts it out with his team. I hope that it isn't anything more than maybe a financial fine that they give him and they're able to put it behind them. But of course, the Nigerian media and fans, once they start on your case, they are going to be dragging you for a little while. And it's just now, this is just another thing that whenever anybody mentions his name now, somebody will bring this up as a reason why he doesn't deserve a call up or why his career is not going forward or things like that. So it's unfortunate to see. But yes, wishing you all the best, Kelechi Nwakali. I still believe that you can be a steady Eddie, in one of the top divisions around the world. But yeah, Smidlai, before we round off this one, any final thoughts? Anybody you want to talk about quickly?
No, I just want to I just want to mention Maduka Goye. I'm now I'll call myself now emergency fan of Udinese because I find myself watching Udinese all the time because of Maduka Goye. Is like our best goalkeeper that we have in national team. I know that nobody is doing well, but I just think that Maduka Goye, is like our top prospect in that national team. And it's been a long time that we had the goalkeeper in the top 5 leagues in Europe. So now that Maduka Goye is in Syria, I don't want him to go down because it's most likely that if he goes down, that he will what? He will stay with them in Serie B. So now that they won against Lecce and they are now like, is he 16th or so or 17th? I know they are now slightly above what? Relegation zone.
Yeah.
I'm really, really actually was happy.
But it's still a tough one. They are 1 point above the relegation zone with 2 games to go. So it's going to be tricky. The good thing is that the 2 games that they have left are against their fellow relegation strugglers. They play Empoli and then they play Frosinone. Empoli are 18th, Frosinone are 17th. So it's in their hands. Hopefully they can stay up because we're happy to have a goalkeeper in one of the Europe's top 5 leagues. If we get relegated now, it's back to square one for
He's
us.
back to scale one.
But
Yeah.
yeah, um, thank you very much to everyone who has watched and listened to this episode. We really appreciate you. If there's anything you agreed with, anything you disagreed with, please, please, please make sure to engage with us in the comments. And of course, we will reply to as many comments as possible, if not all of them. Um, Another interesting one, unfortunately, was longer than I wanted it to be, but I know that I trust that you guys are going to watch it all the way till the end. This has been the Niger FC podcast. As always, my name is Ayoti, and my co-host is
Smith Lai, thanks for joining. Please keep sharing the video. I can tell you that next time we're taking your comments too as part of the family. Thank you.
yeah. Thank you very much, guys. Bye bye.